Can you really grow a year's supply of sweet potatoes in a vertical container garden? Well, I kind of tested it out last year and I've learned a lot through the process. I have always grown my sweet potatoes in beds, and I actually did some this year as well. I'm growing the Tigan 64. It's recommended by Cody Co Farms and Jerris Garden. And I also grow my old timeless favorite Beauregard. The Tigan 64 in the bed was actually a volunteer plant. It was only one plant. It got huge. It doesn't seem like it's quite as vining-like as the Beauregard, maybe semi-vining, I'm not sure. But the potatoes I got, I was very pleased with. I was very happy with just one plant producing some very sizable sweet potatoes as compared to the Beauregard, which had a lot of like smaller sweet potatoes. Now the Beauregard were a little bit younger, probably by just like a couple weeks. But the size difference is pretty obvious. The Tigan 64 has a larger size, but it seems like it produces a smaller amount of potatoes. So I think in general, you might be getting the same. I'm not 100% sure about that. We'll really be able to test that today when we harvest our Greenstalk vertical garden of sweet potatoes. Now, the reason why I haven't been getting such a great harvest over in the raised beds is sweet potatoes like to grow in kind of sandy, low nutrient soil. They don't want like high nitrogen, otherwise it's just gonna put on a lot of leaves and not a lot of roots. And that's kind of what was happening in my beds. I've been using so much compost and organic mulches and like really enriching the soils, and it just over the years, as my beds have become more and more enriched, the plants absolutely love it, the regular annual garden, but the sweet potatoes are like, no, not my thing anymore. Last year, the beds produced a tiny amount of sweet potatoes. So this year, I actually added some sand to my beds, some native Florida sand to my beds. It introduced root knot nematodes, which is one thing, but it helped because I actually was able to grow more sweet potatoes in the beds again. It brought down some of the organic material and created more sandy soil for them to grow in, and I had a better harvest this year than previous years. But I'm all about growing in a vertical container here because last year I got, I think, like almost 15 to 20 pounds. I'll put the video down below and at the end of this video of comparing between the raised beds and the vertical. So if you have been having struggles with growing them in a raised bed, like just as the years have gone by, they've just produced less and less. That's probably why. As your soil becomes more mature, like it's not the soil that the sweet potatoes like to grow in. In the vertical containers, I actually add half sand, half potting soil. Sometimes I even, like I think with this one, I used half sand, half old soil. So soil that was in my other containers that have been depleted and stuff. I was really looking for like the least nutritious soil. And it's kind of obvious from these that it was least nutritious because like the leaves were always kind of pale and yellow and they never really looked healthy. They still don't look healthy. There's very few parts that actually look healthy. And so I wasn't really expecting much, but when I got in there deep and really looked at the plants and kind of looked into each one of the pockets to see if I could see any sweet potatoes, I found what seems to be quite a few sweet potatoes. So today's the day. It's been 5 months. You really want to wait between 4 and 6 months to harvest them. And it's been 5, and we got the Tigan 64 that we're going to harvest today together to see, did they do better in the container compared to the Beauregard smaller variety? Or are these guys just a little too big to be grown in containers? Let's see together. And if you want to know more about growing sweet potatoes here in Florida, make sure to check out my book, Homegrown Florida Gardening Guide. I have a whole section on sweet potatoes. Tells you everything you want to know, from the soil to the pests to the disease, to how long they take and how many plants you need to feed a family of 4. So make sure to check this out on my website, homegrownfloridagarden.com. The first thing we need to do is clip off all of the vines from the plants. And there is one vine per pocket per tier. So I think there's 30 plants here. I also want to take some cuttings that I'm going to keep alive through winter so that way I have a head start next summer. So I did this last year and it gave me, I think a 4 was plenty. So I'm going to take those 4 and those we're going to keep before next spring. Believe it or not, they actually will stay alive. Just stick them in like a super shady spot and they'll do better. I think these are a bush style. I keep saying that. I don't know 100% if they are or not. If you know the Tigan 64, are they bush? They feel like kind of like a bush variety. Like I got a lot of branching. but they're also really big too. It's sometimes hard to tell. Now I don't typically compost sweet potato vines because they really just grow more sweet potatoes. And also they take a really long time. So if you only have a small system, like my tumbler right here, it's not the best in composting these. But this compost system that I got, I did a whole video where I showed you how I put it together and started it and all the reasons why I got one. Quite big, and I'm not gonna lie, it was a little bit on the expensive side, you know, given what it does. You know, it's supposed to take trash and make it into dirt. I got it from Gardener Supply if you're interested, but it works really, really well. It works almost too well. Like I'm getting compost within usually about 3 to 4 months. This thing is usually 6 to 9 months. I think it's the volume. The volume is so high, and I just feel a lot better because we're producing more compost for the garden, which is awesome, but also we're reducing our trash, which is really, really good. All of our cardboard, all of our paper, all of our kitchen scraps, all of my plant debris, any sand that we use, like we had to get rid of, we had to put a French drain in up front, and so we had to put some sand in this. Like the old soil, like I always get this question, like what do you do with your old soil? Can you reuse it? Absolutely, you can reuse it. You can just put some fertilizer in it. But what I do is I take it and I dump it in my compost bins now, and I allow that soil to get enriched through the composting process, right? It's just like enriching it that way. So yeah, a lot of really good, but hopefully I won't regret this. I've been saying that a lot lately. I think that's a sign that I'm gonna regret something. Before these get too wilted, we're gonna get them in some water for them to root. And in case I didn't mention it or haven't mentioned it more recently in my videos, sweet potato leaves are edible. They're actually a very nice green. I prefer them over a lot of other greens that grow this time of year, although my favorite is CISO spinach. But these are really good. They're very delicate. They're sweetish, kind of. That's the closest I could say of what they are. They kind of have like a sweet taste to them, and they have like a spinach feeling to them. Absolutely no bitterness, which is one of the reasons why I love them. A lot of the greens that we grow this time of year can sometimes taste bitter or I can't say that word, mucilicious, like thick, like okra, like slimy kind of. These don't have that. It's not like that at all with these guys. I think I might need a bigger glass. I think I used a bigger one. I think I used, what is this? No, this is a pint. I think I've always used pints. I don't know. They're falling out though. That's not gonna decide if I can somehow get them back in there. I think they're too long, but that's okay. We got them. We are almost to the fun part, which is to harvest our sweet potatoes. Let's just get these brackets off. All right, so now is the time to figure out whether we got anything. I'm almost nervous. This is kind of like, it's almost like Christmas morning, right? Because you're gonna see what you ended up with. And if it ends up bad, it's kind of sad. There's a lot of sand. That's why they were so heavy, wet sand. Okay, let's see here. Oh, I hope I didn't get them too early. Okay, so he's kind of skinny. I was worried that they would be skinny, and that's kind of, oop, I broke that one in half. I was worried they'd be skinny, and I think that's gonna be what the situation is. Hopefully we get some big ones. Okay, here we go. That's a decent size. I'm happy with that one. That's big. These Tigans are pretty big. A lot more skinny ones. Little ones. Oh, they're okay. Last year's, when I did this, they were really small. It was the Beauregards. And these, there are some that are small. They're more skinny than I would say small, but they're decent. Like this one's pretty good. I'm pretty happy with that. The ones in the bed got much fatter. These are skinny minis. Let's see here. All right, I think that's it for that one. Last year the roots were huge. This year the roots aren't that big. Okay, we've got one little guy. I feel something right here. Look at that. Oh, skinnies. But here we go. Here's one. Look at that. They're kind of funny shaped. A lot of skinnier roots. So I think that's a result of the growing it in a container. All right, I did notice that the sandier ones seem to be doing better than I had certain tiers that had kind of a lot of soil in them and less sand, and the sandy ones definitely did better. They're all kind of pretty skinny though. It's kind of funny. It's funny to me how the shape of them. But I do like this variety. I'm enjoying this variety. They have bigger sweet potatoes than the Beauregard. They're so funny though. They're shaped like little snakes. It's the best I can put it. They remind me of little snakes. I keep breaking them though because they're so skinny. I'm sure we got everything. I gotta just tell you that the shape of these are totally cracking me up. Like, this is the difference. This is one I grew in my raised bed, same variety, the Tigan 64, and this is the one that grew in the vertical container. They're skinnier, they're longer. I mean, they're still good size. And so now we're gonna weigh them. I'm gonna weigh my bucket first. Okay, we're right at 1.5 pounds. Let's get these guys in here. And I'll also show you how I cure them, which is super, super easy. You want to cure them because sweet potatoes are not actually sweet when they come out of the ground. They actually taste a lot like regular white potatoes when they come out of the ground. You have to let their sugars get concentrated. And the way you do that is by curing them, which just means allow the skin to get hard and for those sugars to kind of consolidate. Okay. I think we got them all, so now let's weigh this guy. $13.5, so we were at 1.5, 12 pounds. 12 pounds. Last year, I think I was right at, probably right about the same. So I don't think it really matters whether you grow the Tigan 64 or the Beauregards. It's just, you get different shapes. So the Beauregard had a lot of them like this. Or like little tiny ones. I got a lot of those. These I've got more larger size ones, but they're long and skinny. So let's get these curing, and then we're gonna take care of all this soil. So this is my little makeshift place where I have been curing the ones from the raised beds. So we're gonna get these. They've been probably sitting out here for about a week. You can do them in a garage. That's typically where I do mine at, but my husband is working on a project and I don't want to clutter up his garage with a bunch of sweet potatoes. So we're just going to put them out here on the patio. But what I do is I lay down cardboard or an old cotton towel, pretty much anything that you have, just so it's not touching the ground, because they do have a little bit of moisture. And I think here's a good example. These are Beauregards from inside a raised bed where they have plenty of room to grow compared to the Tigan. Yeah, so the Tigans definitely get bigger. And you can imagine if these were some of the biggest potatoes I got from the Beauregards in the raised bed, you can imagine that in a vertical container, they are much smaller. So they're even smaller than that, but you get a lot more of them. But I think size-wise, like weighing them, I think it's about the same. And so I would guess right here, I have probably a little less than the 12 pounds that I have right here in my bucket. So I think we're probably sitting at around maybe 20 pounds. Just not great for us. We eat a lot of sweet potatoes. What's funny is we didn't used to eat a lot of sweet potatoes. We didn't actually start eating a lot of sweet potatoes until we started growing them. And then we started eating a lot of sweet potatoes because we grow more sweet potatoes here than we grow white potatoes. I struggled for years trying to get my white potatoes to work. And even though I'm doing better, I'm not great. And so because of that, you know, we just naturally got drawn to eating the sweet potatoes because we had more of them. In past years, I've pulled 50 pounds out of my little backyard garden, no problem. But ever since that soil started getting a little bit better and more nutritious and, you know, a little more enriched, the sweet potatoes have gone down in terms of like volume. So right now, this is not a year's supply for us. Maybe back in the day it would have been. Like we didn't eat very many sweet potatoes, but now we eat so many that this is probably, I don't know, 20 pounds. We probably eat, what would it be? Maybe 6 months for us, I think. Yeah, I think this is probably about 6 months of sweet potatoes for us, which isn't a lot. I guess we just don't eat a lot of potatoes in general. Now that I'm looking at it, I'm like, I guess this isn't very much. When I think about the ones that I got back in the day, like this is nothing compared to the volume that I used to get. I am happy with it. Don't get me wrong. Don't take what I'm saying and think that, you know, like I'm unhappy with my harvest. I'm actually very happy with it. I think the Tigans do very good in the vertical containers. And if you don't have a lot of space, or maybe, you know, your beds are too enriched like mine and they're just not producing good sweet potatoes, it's a really great option. And I think what I'm gonna do next year is I'm gonna do a little hybrid. I think I'm gonna put the Tigans in the vertical container so that I get those. I know I'm gonna get, you know, right around 12 to 15 pounds of them. So I'll probably do that. And then, look at this one. It just cracks me up, you guys. It's so funny shaped. But I'll probably put the Tigans in the vertical container. And then I will put some Beauregards because I do like them. I like the little orange potatoes, but I haven't tried the Tigans yet, so I don't know how they taste. Maybe they taste just as good. And if they do taste just as good, forget Beauregard. I'm only gonna grow Tigan because they do grow quite nicely in either space. But I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take some of my used soil from my different containers, like my Greenstalks and, you know, the different containers that I have, and I will pour that into whatever bed that I'm gonna put my sweet potatoes in and kind of till it in so that there's a mixture of soil that is depleted and soil that is good. And I think I could get good results. I could get more like these results. And the more you can get like this, the less you have to grow, right? So I think that's what I'm gonna do in the future. And I'll still grow them in the containers because they work really well and I have open space. There's not a lot that loves to grow in our containers during the summer. So it's a great way of just, you know, filling containers and keeping the ground covered. So I will continue to do that. But I think I'm going to mix in some bad soil in my raised bed and put the Tigan 64s. They seem to do the best. Also, the Tigan seems to have done better in nutritious soil than the Beauregards. So that's an interesting thing. Okay, so, sorry, I'm rambling. But now we just need to get them covered up. You want to cover them up because you don't want them to get light while they're curing, because otherwise they'll just sprout. Like that's happening right here with some of these. But you also want them to stay hot and humid. That's why a garage is really the ideal place. But like I said, he's working on a project, so we're not gonna put him in the garage. We're just gonna put a black towel over the top of them out here on a patio. So if you don't have a covered garage, say you just have a carport or something like that, you could put them in the carport where they'll stay nice and hot and humid for 2 weeks. I just set a timer on my phone for 2 weeks, and then we'll come out here, we'll pull them out of this spot, we'll put them in a paper bag. When I go shopping at Publix, I ask them to give me paper instead of plastic that time. And then I'll take them, put them in the paper bag and put them in my pantry. And they last a year that way. I never have a problem. They always last a year. That's all we have to do. That was our 2025 sweet potato harvest. I'm happy with it. I would be more happy if it was like double that. We're gonna aim for that next year. But we got some good size, weird size sweet potatoes out of the vertical container, a good quality amount. I'm happy. It only took up 2 square feet and I got like 12 pounds of sweet potatoes. That works for me. The bed though, I think with the Tigan 64 in the bed, I think we're gonna get even more promising results. So we're gonna do that next year. If you haven't already, make sure to subscribe. We are harvesting a lot of our summer crops. Peanuts is gonna be coming up next and you don't wanna miss that. So subscribe and hit that notification bell so that you can be here for that harvest too. Thanks so much for hanging out with me today, guys. Happy gardening.